Okay, so hi there everybody, I'm Robin Retallick from the Law of Attraction Club. So what do you think channeling is? There's a lot of what I would call woolly thinking about this. It's actually a lot more simple and fundamental process than a lot of people imagine. And we'd like to talk about that because we'd like to debunk some of the myths. Today's short session is a summary of the longer session we're going to have next Saturday, 9 a.m. Pacific, and you're welcome to come along to that and bring your questions and contribute to the discussion. So here's the summary, and here's Tara. Thanks. So what do you think channeling is? Even after this one had been heavily engaged with Abraham, channeled by Esther Hicks, for 18 years prior to starting this community, he had no idea what channeling really was, except that he thought it was not something he would ever do. What was compelling about it was that what he was hearing made sense. For the first time, he was getting answers that rang true. Questions remained, but many of the puzzle pieces started falling into place. Then came this community with unlimited access to us and more answers. And now, of course, here he is, channeling. There are many reasons why this thing you call channeling is an important topic. For starters, it's a very visible part of what goes on in this community. In the intersections we have with all of you, we are pushing the boundaries of our understanding. We are going where no man has gone before, moving into new territory as we explore together the nuances of this game of life on Earth. Even in the creation of this very discussion, we in this one have moved to a whole new way of understanding and describing this process. Nothing stands still. Everything continues to evolve. But it's also an important topic for each of you personally, because it's a resource you can tap into. It can help you open up to new possibilities and an ongoing awareness of who you are. We're going to explore here the nature of channeling and encourage you to see that, yes, you too can channel. It can be fun, it can support you, it can confirm your alignment and be a source of inner guidance. Like all other topics, there are some things about it that are absolute. And then, of course, there's your story about it, which is simply those things you have chosen to believe. First, let's look at the mechanism of which channeling is just one aspect. What is often not well understood is that there's an always-on connection between A, you, and B, let's say your subconscious, and C, let's say your higher self, and D, the collective consciousness of Source. If you exist, you have this connection. It's a part of everybody's existence in a very fundamental way. You may be partly aware of it as a subtle inner voice. You may be unaware of it. You may be pulling away from it, in which case, as we discussed last week, you will not be feeling good. But you cannot exist without it. Being in the physical realm, you tend to see things as discrete clumps, like A, B, C, and D. Well, we need to blur the lines a little here because you're actually a non-physical entity, even as we are. And in non-physical, there are no boundaries and beginnings and ends. So this mechanism we're talking about is not so much a connection between clumps as it is a merging of energies. If Source was white light, then dividing that light gives a spectrum. You, A, are like the red part. What we call B and C are like orange and yellow. There is no boundary point between these. There is only more or less. So let's look at your hour-to-hour thinking. For a lot of that time, you're on a train of thought. One thought leads down familiar tracks. It's a big approximation, but for this discussion, you could say that B, your subconscious, is providing the familiar tracks and timetable, and you, A, are occasionally making override decisions. But then along comes that totally new idea. Where does that come from? Well, this is where C, your higher self, gets involved. Every new thought and new idea comes in part from C. Now we're using clumpy language again, and really there's just more or less, but the point here is that these different energies that are you are always participating more or less in your experience. What's absolute about channeling is it's one way of having C, your higher self, and D, source, and everything in between, be more involved in your world, be a more conscious part of your everyday experience. Like everything else in your world, unique to you, it's a choice. The ability to channel isn't some sort of gift that only some people have. The spectrum of source that contains you is the same spectrum that contains everybody. If you choose to make some of this connection conscious, then you will be channeling. It's as simple as that. What form will it take? It could be writing, painting, sculpting, or speaking, or anything you choose. With what entities will you be communicating? Well, even as you create your physical world around you and populate it with people you intersect with, so it is you create your non-physical world. You will intersect with whatever you have chosen to believe is possible. Is there anything to fear? Well, we are not talking about absolutes here, and so we say, you tell us. We can say, absolutely, that non-physical contains no negative energy. But as with all things, you will create your own reality with this. As always, simply choose what feels good. That will never lead you astray. How will you know it's happening? Well, fundamentally, if you're getting new ideas, it's happening. But will it ever feel like communicating with something other than just you? Yes. Let's use voice channeling as an example. Channeling is a collaboration between different parts of that spectrum and you. So how do you know what you're saying is at least partly them? You will be getting blocks of thought. And for some of those, even as you get them, you will know. You'll be thinking, that wasn't my idea. You may notice physical changes. And as you relax into this, you'll be more and more aware of the collaborative aspects of the interchange. What does a block of thought feel like? Well, let's establish something up front here. Today, when you are speaking normally to someone, you do not choose your words. You have a thought you want to express, a block of thought, and your subconscious provides the words. That is why many of you fear public speaking, because you try to consciously speak particular words at the same time as thinking about what you're going to say next, and you can't do it. Your conscious processor doesn't have enough horsepower. Learning to speak publicly is learning to speak without choosing words. Channeling is similar. Channeled speaking is not like someone whispering words into your ear that you can repeat. Channeling is never a takeover of you as a delivery vehicle. You will be getting those blocks of thought and expressing them in the same way as you do today. You are always calling the shots, but you will be thinking with two minds, and you will know it. Once you understand these principles, you will see evidence all around you of people channeling, consciously or unconsciously. You will hear authors and songwriters and painters describing how something outside of them was a part of the process. Channeling, as this one says, is as normal and natural as having breakfast. You too can channel. In a sense, you're already doing it. We look forward to your questions and to our longer discussion on this topic. Okay, so thanks everybody for joining us. We hope that you'll join us again on Saturday, 9 a.m. Pacific. Come along, bring your questions. Let's explore this topic. And you might just discover that you too can channel. And it's not just to get answers to questions. It can be a huge support for you, keep you in alignment, to have you understand who you are, to ground you more in the knowledge of who you are and the power that you have. So, love to see you. Come along, join us. Thanks.